bets big again, gets it correct, and goes on to win the game. It was clutch Jeopardy. So there you go. Don't count yourselves out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you an important news bulletin. Mr. Juicy Boo Boo, can you smell what the rock is cooking, or can you smell what the cock is jugging? Palette was most recently found in his jail cell. You know, the male character, Ben of whom had, excuse my language, pardon my French, had damn near, practically, if not possibly, caused a race riot when he himself had just ever so claimed or alleged that certain hardcore closet racist redneck white boys, klans-men or neo-Nazis, had supposedly kidnapped him off of the street somewhere and then put a rope around his neck and shouted, "Murder!" at some or such a given moment in time. And whereas upon police having been called, whereas they had gotten involved with the supposed or so-called alleged hate crime incident, and upon them conducting an investigation where he was found out to be lying or having made a false allegation. And as a result of those developments, he had won a lottery ticket, all expenses paid, for hotel, motel, holiday, jail. But then, being that because he himself is a celebrity who had gone about concocting that scheme or scam to attempt to establish his own personal empire much sooner, he, upon having to appear before a judge, had gotten something similar to that being of Karen's white privilege, or whereas he had received celebrity privileges, and from there had only been sentenced to a mere 150 days. That's close to half a year, when he himself should have gotten at least at minimum. But then what he did get was minimum, outrageous minimum, but the recommended minimum is what I meant to say so far as the jail term sentence is concerned, being of which would have come out to 3 years, and the maximum being 15 calendar years. But then, nevertheless, most recently, it had been reported that Juicy Booty, can you smell what the rock is cooking, or can you smell what the cock is jugging? Palette was found in his jail cell most recently with something like several, all from a half a dozen to a dozen, or maybe a couple or a few dozen for that matter, of oscar-meyer-weiner-hotdogs, ballpark-franks, or eckridge-polish-sausages, of other guys, fellows, or dudes, having been stuck and stuffed in his mouth and down his throat and up his buns, all the while he was positioned on all fours in a physical position as that being. And obviously, evidently, whereas although for a minute there it seemed like he was enjoying it, after the correctional officers had approached his cell and witnessed all this, that up until the time he must have, seemed to have gagged or felt like he was choking, and that's when he muffled out some of such that appeared to be quite a number of screams that would have the correctional officers assuming that there was a woman in his jail cell. And whereas from there, they've been the correctional officers has supposedly pulled the other jailbird inmates off a juicy-palate, and whereas some ran to their own jail cells and others just simply had attempted to bribe the correctional officers to finish up from where they had left, where they had last left off. But then, regardless though, we will bring you further updates as it comes along. This is a joke, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take it seriously, okay? Then get back to what I was saying. Yes, according to our news correspondents, journalists or news reporters and investigative news inquiries, it was supposed to have been alleged that before then they had heard Juicy-Palate saying, "I'm sick and tired of this here solitary confinement kind of like situation. I want to go out. I want to mingle as one who is single." In other words, he wanted to be put in GP, general population. How he wound it up there, I don't know. Oh, he's not in general population, or rather, how some or such other wound it up or ended up in his jail cell. Who can say? But that's how he was found, and he was appearing to be sucking upon many oscar-meyer-weiner-hotdogs, ballpark-franks, or eckridge-polish-sausages. The other guys, fellows, or dudes, or fellow jailbird inmates. He was licking and sucking their oscar-meyer-weiner-hotdogs, and then somewhere along the way, so it has been reported, according to that the different testimonies that were given, that they had stuck and stuffed it in his buns after a while, and he was supposedly enjoying it. They said that it was not by force that they give him their oscar-meyer-weiner-hotdog, ballpark-franks, or eckridge-polish-sausages, but rather he had made a request of them to give it to him. Like, "Give it to me, baby. Boom, 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 boom." And upon the correctional officers having got back with him, they from there had witnessed him coughing and trying to catch his breath all the while he was trying to push the other jailbird inmates off of him, although they were steadily continuing to grab upon him and push him in closer to them, as he himself was on all fours, being of what some would call the doggy style position. And they were sticking and stuffing their oscar-meyer-weiner-hotdogs in his mouth and down his throat, and as well up his buns. And like I said before, according to what had been conveyed of a line of thought to me as one of the senior news correspondents, news journalists, or news reporters, that some, if not all, of the jailbird inmates of his fellow jailbirds had ran from his jail cell, whereas others were still there attempting to pay off correctional officers to let them continue from where they had last left off. But then, nevertheless, upon the correctional officers having pulled the other males or men off of Juicy-Palate, they had witnessed he had quite a bit of a milk mustache, of mayonnaise, of the giggity juice. They also had witnessed that his buns was dripping the same mayonnaise to go along with his own peanut butter, the mayonnaise that had come from the other guys or fellas or dudes of his fellow jailbirds. And then upon them having pulled those characters off of juicy-palate, he seemed to be whimpering like a dog that had been caught out in a pouring rain with his tail between his legs, or like a cat that had been cornered by dogs and was tore up. And he was like, and it would appear that he was asking to see a doctor or a nurse. All the while he was supposed to be whining or whimpering like. But then some for some time during the course of that period, he was supposedly crying out for his mother and his grandma. You know, the woman that was saying, if he goes to jail, I want to go to jail with him. After the different correctional officers had pulled those other jailbirds off of him, it seemed like his donut hole had expanded so far as the opening thereof. We will bring you further updates as it comes along. And now we return you to your regular scheduled program. Everybody, this was meant as a joke, nothing else. But then, last but not least, I say, you never have to force myself to say this. It don't come naturally for me to say just that. That is, if you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I will hope that you would think to do so now while the blood is still running warm in your veins, by recognizing or realizing what he himself had done or did upon the cross of Calvary, or suffering at the hands of some such Roman soldiers up on the orders of their superiors, being of Pharisees and Sadducees. But then, nevertheless, whereas he went to the cross of Calvary to become that perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well as for me. So that being of whatsoever race and whatever walks of life, fashion of society, lifestyle, preferences, being of the old and young, like both two sexes, there's male and female represent not only the hemisphere, but then the rest of the globe coming into within this first 911 era of a new millennium apocalyptic day and age, where the doomsday clock is now at a couple few minutes of midnight compared on our foreign period prior to them, according to midnight for these rather biblically prophetic times. Or to profess some such faith in them, from there we come and be blessed in one regard or another, in more ways than one. First and foremost, for this salvation, being of which is the only means by which any of us can or could possibly become citizens of the kingdom of heaven. And second of all, with his deliverance. But first, you have got to get his salvation. Otherwise, you have nothing coming so far blessings is concerned. You will not have that fire insurance for the lake of fire, damn hell. And your final destination, once you were to make that transition for the great beyond of the hereafter, afterlife, would be among the other lost damn human souls to be tortured and terrorized by devil and demons forever in a lake of fire, damn hell, compared to how we as believers in God would be across that great divide that separates heaven from hell, in the company of like-minded believers in God and in the presence of God and angels. Hey, but then you all take care and be safe, be blessed, not stressed. Peace and love, joy, and happiness. And I'll highlight you later. I can't say when I'll make another social media broadcast video, but it'll be sometime. But in the meantime, I have to find me another place rather than saying I've been given an eviction notice. Thanks to the neighbor from hell. You all take care.